This conference will now.
Well, good morning, everyone. My name is Patrick Baker. I'm the president of Constructive Solutions, which is now a division of the Answer Company. I'm going to be leading the presentation today. It's my intention to introduce you to who we are as the Answer Company, who Acumatica is from a corporate and a technology perspective, and then really we'll spend the last 3/4 of the meeting in the product, showing you, giving you a look and a feel for the product and showing you general navigation and how to navigate through. We're going to focus on the construction specific features of budget management, commitment management, change order management, and contract management. And then we can talk a little bit about the next steps. So the Answer Company, we've been in business for 27 years. We have over 130 team members and 2,000 clients across Canada. We have our head office is in Vancouver and New Westminster, with offices in Calgary, Edmonton, Winnipeg, Toronto, and Portland, Oregon. We continue to grow at a rapid pace, compounded annually at about 15%, and we're the #1 Acumatica partner in Canada. Since the introduction of our corporate social responsibility program, we've given about 25,000 volunteer hours back into the communities in which we serve. So in March of last year, the Answer Company acquired Constructive Solutions. For 23 years, we had focused solely on the construction and real estate industry. And over those 23 years, we had amassed over 750 construction-based clients across the country. So delivering solutions from estimating through to project accounting, where we're paying vendors and paying employees and doing financials for the company or group of companies, through to project management and property management. I've known Sean, the founder of the Answer Company, for many years, and they did everything other than construction and real estate, so it was a really good fit. And so all of our 23 employees now are employees of the Answer Company. And we're continuing to go to market. So we're one of Canada's largest systems integrators. We were very well aligned in our approach. We dealt with the same publishers. Over the years, our cultures were very similar. It sort of drew, Sean and I worked collaboratively in market. If they had a lead in the construction and real estate space, or if we had a lead in manufacturing and distribution, we would work those together, and we would hand those off to one another prior to the acquisition. But Sean's done an awesome job in creating a great culture to attract and retain quality employees. Being recognized earlier this year as one of the best workplaces in British Columbia and a great place to work back in April of 2021, Small Business of the Year winner, and also Bob Scott, which is a VAR. So we are value-added resellers, and so we're recognized as one of the top resellers in Canada for the products that we represent. I spoke of corporate social responsibility, but as an employee of the Answer Company, I'm asked to donate 4 days of my time to a charity of my choice on an ongoing annually. And then in addition, the Answer Company highlights and targets nonprofits and charities that they want to partner with corporately. And then in addition to the 4 days that I get to select a charity, we're also expected to participate in 4 additional days per year. And when you look at 8 days a year across 130 employees, it's like having 3.5 full-time staff that are focused on giving back into the communities we serve. So it's, it's a broad range. We're encouraged as employees to bring, different causes to the front to see about corporate alignment, but as Constructive Solutions, we always gave to the food bank and the Lower East Side in Vancouver, the Union Gospel Mission and Raycam and a variety of different charities, Aunt Leah's. But the group as a whole really gives back to the community. And these are just some of the charities and foundations that we partner with on an annual basis. The services that we provide, we help over here with the, your investigation and understanding your requirements and the selection, supporting you in an investigation, getting you to an informed decision of one of the products in our portfolio. Should you decide to proceed, we're there every step of the way to get the system implemented, to configure the software, to understand your business, to configure the software, to work with you in a test environment to ensure that the configuration that we've come up with is going to meet your needs, and then deliver the training pre and post live to ensure that you're going to be successful on the software. The product that we're talking about today in Acumatica is really it's a custom, it's a framework, it's highly customizable. Sean's group has a team of 8 developers. So the product that I'll show today later in the presentation is very full featured, but certainly if there's any unique processes or items that you need to manage that aren't a part of the native code, we have the ability to, Culvero leads a team of 8 developers. And so we can really tailor the solution and really wrap the solution around your business and around your processes. Our exposure to 750 plus construction-based clients and over 2,000 clients across all industries really allows us to see best practice, whether it's from a financial standpoint, a project management standpoint, a project costing standpoint. Our exposure really allows us to see best practices in industry, and we can talk to you about those best practices. And if there's risks that you're looking to mitigate and better manage, we're gonna talk to you about what some of our other clients are doing to mitigate and manage those risks. For some of our legacy-based solutions, we create virtual environments and we manage those and deliver our solutions virtually in a hosted environment, and we also work to support those customers right down to their desktop. So we have full managed services on the IT side. So that's the Answer Company. I appreciate your time and letting me explain who we are. It's important to know who it is that you're partnering with. Acumatica, Acumatica was founded in 2008. Their head office is in Seattle, Washington. A series of ex-Microsoft people who didn't feel that Microsoft was moving to the cloud from an ERP perspective at the right pace. So they formed what has now become Acumatica. Since that time, they've grown to, over 400 employees or 450 employees, having an industry-leading solution. So they're based in Seattle. They have 40 engineers in Montreal, Mexico City and Moscow are 2 other big development centers for us. All of the services and support are headquartered out of Ohio. So again, if you're making support calls or dealing with support tickets or support issues, those are all being handled out of Ohio. And in 2019, we were acquired by EQT Partners, or Acumatica was, which is really, they're a private equity group with $42 billion US under management. And so we're really well funded, which has allowed us to continue to grow and bring product to market in a very rapid pace. So today, Acumatica has over 8,000 customers. They continue to grow really quite rapidly, over 425 employees, 85% of which are in R&D. And they don't sell their product direct, they go through a channel. They believe that local expertise and an understanding of construction and real estate is key in manufacturing and distribution. And so we sell and support the Acumatica platform products. Acumatica is consistently ranked highest in usability. It has as you'll see when I get into the product, it's very easy to navigate and move around, very intuitive in its design. G2, Nucleus Research, Software Reviews, Gartner, these are, online services that rate softwares, and we're consistently ranked highest in usability and intuitive design by these. And I would encourage you, as part of your investigation, to go online and look at the reviews that Acumatica receives from its, the solution we're talking about is anywhere, anytime, on any device. Certainly pre-COVID, there was momentum building to go to the cloud, but post-COVID, that momentum is accelerated. Certainly, when you're supporting people from their home office, from the job site, from wherever it is that they are on any device, you need a more modern technology stack, and Acumatica delivers that. You know, they have a very unique licensing model. No longer are you needing to acquire 2 GL licenses or 3 AP licenses or 1 AR license. You know, they have an unlimited licensing model. They believe that the more people, the more of your team that are in the software, the more you're going to be on the same page and the more collaborative your environment is going to be. So they've got this very modern, growth-friendly licensing that's predictable, and you can understand clearly what your investment is going to be and how that investment is going to grow over the next series of years. You know, these modern ERP, cloud-based ERP solutions, you know, unlimited online training. So there's a whole university. These companies are very transparent. There's learning paths as a controller or a project manager, or as a finance individual, of how to interact with the software. You can go at your own pace and learn and take certain courses, whether those are on inquiry, like building inquiries in the software, building reports in the software. You know, it's our responsibility as the answer company to understand your business, to configure the software and train you on the use of it. But this as a fault, we give out the, you know, these little vignettes about, if we're going to be doing AP training, we're going to send you to the Open University, and we're going to say, go look at this 8-minute video on how to set up a vendor or how to enter an AP invoice, to allow you to get familiar with the capabilities of the software. So when we get together to train you, you know, we're getting to a deeper level of understanding and to be able to work with you. I'll be quick over here, but really, you know, back in 2008, when they were ready to start developing their software, they took a chance on some tools, and they decided to use HTML5, .NET Framework, and Visual Studio. Well, those 3 tools have really become the standard for how to develop you know, a modern cloud-based ERP solution. All your data is going to be hosted in Canada on either Amazon Web Services or Microsoft Azure. You know, 95% of the customers that we work with all host their software in the public cloud. It's very secure, high performance, very redundant, and no longer do you need servers in your office or any of that kind of stuff. It's been developed on a very scalable and robust SQL platform. You know, in 2008, when they started developing software, really everybody was walking around with a cell phone in their hand. Everything that Acumatica has done has been developed with mobile in mind. So whether you're approving an AP invoice or issuing a PO or creating an RFI or an issue or creating a change order or taking a photo and adding it to a log or entering time, doing an expense receipt, everything that you can do within the software extends out to the mobile environment. You know, I spoke of its customization framework, really, you know, within the online learning. If your group is of the size and have an individual of aptitude, you can become a certified developer within the Acumatica community, and you can create customizations for your company and manage and monitor those. You know, the system has the ability to create workflows around any business event. So what happens within my company when I issue a PO or I start a job or I capture time and want to take that time through an approval process, or when an AP invoice comes in, what are the workflows? We're able to customize and create workflows that reflect your business rules and move through the system. So if I'm issuing a subcontract, I can take that through an approval process. Before I invoice a client, who do I want to look at that invoice before that invoice goes out? So we have the full capability to create workflows and then use the notification management to either deliver that information on a dashboard or to email you to say, hey, this is awaiting your review and approval. And these open APIs really, you know, APIs are application interfaces. And so Acumatica has a very open architecture, which allows us to easily integrate with many of the point solutions out in the market space. And I'll get to that in the next slide. We have a Canadian localized version, so multi-currency, French language, it's HST, GST, PST ready. It has all the EFT standards, T5018s, all of the Canadian compliance is all a part of the solution that we're talking about today. You know, initially when they started with financials and CRM. And then after they had success in that space, they started looking at different verticals to go into. So they identified a distribution and manufacturing initially, and then they needed to build out an order management and an inventory control system in order to meet the needs of the distribution and manufacturing companies and clients that they had. They identified construction in 2016 as being an industry that they wanted to target because most of the solutions in the space were they're legacy solutions, they're 20-year-old solutions. And so they identified construction as being a vertical that they wanted to go after in 2016. They did a gap analysis and they realized they identified those areas of the software that they needed to develop to be a player in the construction space. So budget management and commitment management and holdback management and change order management and contract management and how you invoice customers, all those unique features that are part of the construction industry, they started building. And in 2018, almost 4 years ago, they came up with their first edition of the construction software. So building on the strong financial core that they had had in place for 10 years and CRM and the project accounting that they had for service companies, now they started building out those unique construction features. You know, those open APIs, you know, no longer, and you know, as Constructive Solutions, we've been selling software into the construction industry for 23 years. In the past, on some of the legacy-based platforms that we sold, everything had to be contained within the software. So because they were very closed environments and you couldn't interact or integrate with many other solutions. Today that's changed, and I believe that we're really dealing in more of a connected world where you have a choice in your point solutions to get the product that best meets your needs and know that you'll be able to integrate that easily back into your ERP project accounting solution. So out of the box, Acumatica comes with integrations to Procore, ProS, Smartsheet, HR Solutions, Adobe, DocuSign, Office 365, right? So, you know, Procore is a collaborative project management solution. ProEst is a collaborative online estimating solution, software as a service. Smartsheet is a scheduling software as a service. All of these provide unlimited access for an annual subscription, as Acumatica does, and there's integration. So if I'm creating an estimate, it'll create that project once that estimate has been awarded. If I'm issuing POs or subcontracts or doing change management in Procore, and Procore is a staple within my environment, all of that information will flow back into Acumatica. And as costs are accumulated in Acumatica, those are flowing back out to Procore. So the project and accounting teams are always on the same page. So very open environment. The landscape is changing, right? These new modern technology stacks really allow for this interoperability, and these open APIs allow us to exchange data seamlessly. So if you're in Acumatica, you're looking at the same data that you would be in Procore or in ExactTime or your HR solution. So I think now I'll move to the product. I'm just going to jump up to another browser. I've logged in as Patrick Baker into Acumatica. So when I enter my username and my password, it really drives what it is that I can see and where I can go in the software. It defines what information I have access to, as well as which tasks. So I'm looking at a dashboard. Over on the left-hand side are work groups. These work groups organize the tasks within the software. So within construction, in the construction edition, what do? We set up projects, and we set up cost codes, and we set up cost types. We enter budgets. We do budget forecasting and cost projections. We have full change management, right? So we create potential change orders, and we build out both the cost and the revenue associated with those potential change orders. And as those change orders become approved, we convert those into change orders, and then those come up on our progress type contracts, right? So as change orders, we're costing those out. We're impacting not only the cost estimate of that change order, but also the revenue associated with it. And we can build that into the existing schedule of value, or we can add additional lines to that schedule of value in order to invoice our customers and track profitability on those change orders. We issue purchase orders and subcontracts and manage all of the committed costs and all the holdback associated with the subcontracts. So I'm in this one work group. I have full control over showing all or showing less. You'll note that some of these items have been highlighted, and those highlighted items are a part of my favorites. So as I go down through project management and I go through time and expense management or purchasing, each of these work groups, you'll note that I have some highlighted areas. Well, my favorites, it organizes all of the common tasks that I perform on an ongoing basis, and it brings them all into one space. So if I want to initiate a new change or a potential change order, if I want to go and do a progress invoicing, I can navigate to that from this one central. So my favorites is set up to support me and my demonstration today, and I like to cover off construction and project management, some of the dashboards, the different types of dashboards by role and responsibility. We do time capture and approval, so either an employee or a crew can capture the time, can code that time to a job and to a cost code, and then we can take that time through an approval process. And then once it's been approved, we can then take and cost that time to the project, giving you real-time visibility on how you're tracking on your project. We have a full expense management, so that extends out to the mobile, where we do expense receipts and claims. We have very robust purchasing, so whether you're doing requisitions or issuing purchase orders, we have an inventory control management, so I can purchase the inventory and then relieve from inventory to the job, or I can purchase directly to the job. If you don't have a requisition process, then we can just extend and configure the system to allow those individuals that have authorization to create purchase orders. And whether they're on their mobile device or whether they're in their office looking at a web browser, doesn't matter where they are, they have access to the full features of the software. So those are work groups, and within each of the work groups, there's specific tasks. So in our project management software, we have the ability to create issues and tag and categorize those issues. So whether they're deficiencies or different type of issues, we can create issues. We can escalate those issues to a request for information, and then those requests for information can be rolled into potential change orders. We also allow you to track and log daily field reports. So I can do time capture, I can do equipment, what equipment was on site, what subcontractors were on site, what was the weather, were there any issues or RFIs that were created that day, were there any potential change orders that came to light that day. All of that can be recorded in a daily field report. We have photo logs, we have shop drawing management. So those are some of the core capabilities of the project management. At any time I can come and highlight the logo up in the corner, and it'll bring me back to my main dashboard. So I'm in a project overview dashboard. So maybe as an owner of a company or a COO, I want to see how the company is doing as a whole. So here I have a list of all the active jobs. We have full control over the job numbering, but here I'm looking at the revised estimate. So an original estimate plus any approved changes to a revised estimate. And we use our change management to get to that revised estimate. We want to provide full and clear auditability from the original estimate to the revised estimate. I can see what my costs to date are, those costs that have come in from AP and those labor costs that have come in. Any other, any costs that have come in that have been coded against this job. Commitments are those POs and subcontracts that we've issued. Those are costs that we're committed to spend, but maybe we haven't been invoiced back against, and our clients like to keep a tab on what they've committed to spend on the project to see how they're tracking. I can see what my remaining estimate is and a % of that remaining estimate. Here I have a change order log. So this is every open change order that's sitting across all of the jobs that are going on currently. Again, I'm in a project overview dashboard, so it's not really a project manager or a controller or an AP clerk. So this is an overview one, so it's showing all change orders. Here you can insert graphs, pie charts. These are just all based on inquiries. So here I'm looking at my remaining estimate by project based on the percentage of complete. Down below I see our contract status. So when you set up a job, you set up a contract to define the billing relationship with the customer. We do lump sum, we do fixed fee, we do progress type contracts, we do cost plus time and material type contracts, unit-based contracts. So no matter how you invoice your customers, we can handle it. When you set up a job, you set up the contract. And so here I have an original contract plus any approved changes that have come through the change order management to a revised contract that I can now build down against. Depending on your role and responsibility, I can see gross profit by project, right? We know what the revised contract is. We know what the revised estimate is. Therefore, we can derive what the estimated gross profit is going to be and what percentage that gross profit is on a project base. Up a little, you can embed web pages. So this is a job site camera, and I can scroll in or out on this project to see what's going on my job site. So you can embed web pages. You can embed pivot tables. So those of you that are using Excel today, we give you that same pivot table capability natively within Acumatica to layer over your Acumatica cost data. So here I'm looking at I've created this pivot table at the cost code level, looking at the budgeted amount and the revised budget and the committed and open amount, the actual amount, the variance of that, what my cost at complete and my cost to complete is. So we give you the ability to forecast to see where it is that you're going on the project. Again, I can embed other web pages. This is Constructive Solutions. It might be a material vendor that you deal with on a consistent basis. And further, I can go and make modifications or edits to this. So when I come in here, I can add a chart or a data table, an embedded web page, KPIs. I spoke of our best practices and what we see out in industry. We know how electrical or mechanical or general contractors are tracking and what their performance is, and we can help you create matrix that allows you to compare yourself to what the industry standards are. We can embed pivot tables. We deal with Power BI, so business intelligence, right? There's a number of different business BI solutions out in the market. If you use Power BI, you can embed those tiles directly into your dashboards. And we have the concept of wiki pages, right? So a lot of our clients, wiki pages, you can document anything about your company natively within the software, and then it becomes searchable through our Google-like search. So a lot of our clients like to create procedural documentation about how does Patrick as a project manager or as a financial controller interact with Acumatica? What fields need to be identified and be mandatory when I'm setting up a vendor or setting up a customer or setting up a project? All of that can be embedded into the wiki page and be searchable throughout the system. I'll cancel out of here, cancel out of the design. There's a number of different dashboards that ship with the software. So I was looking at a project overview dashboard. When I go to a project manager's dashboard, now it's about my persona. So it's going to tell me about my jobs and my change orders and my issues and the things that are awaiting my approval. So more of a personal view into the software. Taking a little bit of time, I apologize. We're hosting this instance of Acumatica and some virtual servers that we work with. This isn't a production environment, but you'll see that it's serving up, my ball and cord items, whether those are RFIs or issues that are waiting my approval, my items to approve, an AP invoice or a progress invoice that's going out to a customer, my overdue tasks, my tasks, projects over budget. And we get to, these are just widgets, and we can add different widgets in of things that are, that keep us focused on what we need to be doing that day. Here's a change order log of the change orders that are open on the projects that I'm managing, my project issues, and then I'm getting a project summary down here. So again, these dashboards are all definable. If I go into a controller dashboard, it's going to serve up different information, right? So it's going to tell me about cash required in 30 or 60 or 90 days, cash that's expected based on the invoices that we put out in the anticipated time for our customer to pay us, overdue customers, overdue payments, and customers on credit hold. I can look at my cash position over time. I can see who owes us the most money and how old that is. All of these are just inquiries. So if I go in and I drop into one of these inquiries and I want to look at a vendor payment on hold, it'll bring me to an inquiry. I get full control over which columns are here. I can sort on any of these columns. So if I wanted to find out, who do we owe the most money to or the least money to, right? So here I've got Northwest Concrete and we owe them, there's a balance due, I owe them $163,000. So I can sort and filter on any of these grids. I have full control over which columns that come into my grid views. And I can just, drag and drop. So if I wanted to have that past due at the front, when you're in the software, while it's a cloud solution, we give you the ability to download the information to your local workstation in Excel. So we can download any information for further analysis, or we can upload into a number of these different grids. Up back over here. A nice feature within the software, when somebody walks up and says, hey, could you look this up for me? Sure, I can. So you go and look that up. And then, well, where was I and what was I doing before? This is a complete history of everywhere you've been in the software, all the screens that you last visited and what you looked up. Over here, it allows me to search by document types or assignments or change orders or potential change orders, and I could further refine my search. But say if I want to jump now into a project. I'll click on Burnaby Business Park. It'll launch a new window in my browser. We have full control. So here I'm on a dashboard. There's no limit to the number of windows that we can create to allow us to navigate through the software. As I come back to the project, it's just loading. It'll bring up Burnaby Business Park. What I think Acumatica has done an exceptional job of is delivering all the information that I require in one specific area. So I'm on Burnaby Business Park. Again, the job number is user definable, but here I can see my cost budget. I can look at my revenue budget. I can see the balance. I can see all the POs and subcontracts that have been issued on this job, potential change orders, approved change orders, all a history of all the progress invoices that I've done in this job. So again, from one single space, I can navigate to everything that I need to know about this particular job. These views are set up with some header information. They're quite common throughout the system. Then I get into the different project properties. So here, how am I setting the system up? Do I want to deploy certain workflows that I've created? So my change order workflow, or am I going to be tracking production data from the field? What type of contract is it? Is it a progress contract? What invoice format do I want to use? There's no limit to the number of different invoice formats that you have. So when you set up a job, you set up the contract, you define the billing relationship, and you also can define the invoice format that you want to send to that particular customer. So if you're dealing with a large customer who likes the information and needs the information in a particular way, we can do all that natively from within the system. If I want to get more information on this project, I can bring up I can access it all from these different tabs. So here I'm looking at a cost budget. So again, I could download this to Excel locally. I can upload my budget. So if you're using Excel for estimating, or if you're using industry-specific estimating solutions, we're going to be able to upload those estimates either through import scenarios or just organizing a spreadsheet to populate the grid. So here I'm looking at the cost code. So within a project, we have a concept of cost codes. And then within a cost code, the cost code is user definable. This is using a 2-3 cost code structure, but it's completely user definable. And then so cost code, cost type, my description, but I'm tracking original budget, changes to that budget through our change management to a revised budget. I'm looking at my original committed costs, any changes to those commitments, and then I'm seeing my actual costs that are flowing in. I can see what my projected cost at complete, or so cost at completion is, and I can update this within this Excel spreadsheet as my forecast, and it'll capture that date and timestamp it and allow me to report on it. If I want to drill down into some of these costs, so maybe I don't know, I'm looking at, I want to go into a particular cost code here. I'll go into like material. So from here, I can look at any commitments that are associated with this. So any POs or subcontract, right? So I've got an original budget, no changes to that. I can see that I issued a PO for $74.56 against that $7,500 budget line item. Well, when I'm on that line, I can go and look at the commitment. So I could see the PO or subcontract that's related to that committed cost. It'll take me to that record. From here, I can drill into that PO. When I'm in that PO, will customers be given direct VPN connections? I guess, Tom, you're monitoring the questions and we'll get to those in a couple minutes. I'm just going to do one drill down and then I think we'll be good to open it up to questions.
Sounds good.
So here's the PO that I issued against this job and against this number of cost codes. So this is what I was buying. You can see the quantity that I ordered and the cost that I negotiated with the vendor, right? As AP invoices are coming in, it'll monitor to ensure that I'm not being billed for more than I ordered or at a cost that was greater than my unit cost. So from within this PO, so here I have the PO, and now I can start drilling down into the PO history, right? So once I get to the PO history, I can see all the AP invoices that have been applied to this PO. So from here, I can drill from the job and the cost budget to a PO, and then from the PO, I can start drilling down into the AP invoice and the payment history that's associated against this PO. Thursday. Anyways, so now I have an invoice that's come up. So this is an AP invoice that was distributed not only, so we got it in, we coded it against the job and against the cost code and against the PO. So I see that I have this invoice 9563, for $12,000. So I coded that. From here, I can go further and I can see how was that coded and how does that roll to the GL. So in my journal transaction, I coded it, we have full control over the relationship between the subledger that is job cost to the GL, but I coded that to accounts payable and to my cost of sale for material against this job. But we have full control over the job, where the costs flow to in the GL based on the job or the cost code or even the cost type. So I just went from a budget to a PO to an invoice to a journal transaction, and I'm able to drill down natively into that. We have the ability to attach files. If you're using our paperless AP approval associated with that invoice, wherever I am as it moves through the approval process, I'm going to see a copy of the invoice, copy of the PO that was associated with it. I'm going to see when was that invoice acquired, who entered it and when, who approved it, who reviewed it and posted it. And then if there's any other additional supporting documents like packing lists or deficiency documentation or lien holdbacks, I can have all of that associated here. And then once we pay this invoice, a digital image of that check will also be associated here in this docket. And so as I navigate down through the software, whenever I get to that AP invoice, I'm going to see that all that information. If a vendor calls in and says, hey, what's the status of my invoice? By typing in the global search, it'll take me right to that AP invoice and it'll bring up that entry. The global search is awesome. Really, when you talk about being, intuitive design and how one navigates through the software. So here's all the detail on that, all the attachments that are associated where I just was. But if I want to punch in bill, when I type in bill, it'll bring up every menu item that has billing in it. So whether it's a billing and expense claim, progress billing my customer, entering an AP invoice, it has processes, reports, inquiries. Again, these are all from anything that has to do for my work groups that has bill in it. Additionally, all the help associated with bills. So whether, how do I progress bill my customer? How do I set up a time and material billing? How do I find a particular bill? All of the help associated within the system is all searchable as well. It'll also tag any transaction that's been associated with that. So if I want to drill down into a particular invoice that's related to the bill. So again, very powerful Google search type. If I go into approve, it'll start bringing up all the menu items with approval. So if I go to an approval map, we've created some approvals and workflows in the system around creating a project, issuing a subcontract, issuing a PO, capturing and approving time. What happens when an AP invoice comes into our office, and how does that get routed? We can pivot on the job, on whether or not it's a committed cost and how it reconciles against that PO. It could go to a project coordinator before it goes to a project manager. And if it's over $50,000, it can go to the operations manager or the owner of the business who wants to see every AP invoice that's being paid over $50,000 before it goes back to accounting for final review and posting to the job. So again, we can create all of these approval maps and workflows natively within the system to support your business rules.
Patrick, a few questions I saw here.
Great.
Looking to see about show an example of a change order, and then there were some questions on whether customers own the database to be able to do custom reports and custom fields within forms and reports.
Yeah, so we can create any custom field. There's user-defined fields that can be created on any record, and that becomes a part of your database. So really, when we start working with you, we want to understand what your reporting requirements are. And if there's information on those reports that you're tracking that isn't natively accommodated within the software, then we can create user-defined fields. When I was in that, if I go back to Burnaby Business Park, change orders, I think we're sort of running out of time here, but there's the whole concept of a potential change order. And then from that potential change order, you can go, so the change requests. So these change requests, we tag and we create and we track both the cost and what the potential revenue of that is. As those get approved, in a one-to-one or a one-to-many relationship, those become change orders. And it's those change orders that show up on our revenue budget, right? So here I have a schedule of value with contract items that have been a part of this project that I'm going to draw down on. And then as those change orders become approved, those become additional line items. So those could be changes to these existing initial line items, or those change orders can become additional lines that we're going to progress down against. So here I have my revenue contract and my schedule of value with the customer. Right from here, I can go in and decide what percent complete am I on this invoice, or how many dollars do I want to progress on this next progress, and then I can come and I can run my project billing from here. Things that are neat and unique here, I can look at all of my costs. So here's all of my costs grouped by task, so I can see how my costs are being reflected against my my schedule of values. So you'll note over here in the revenue budget, we had general conditions, site work, concrete, metal, the like. When I come and look at my cost budget, I can sort my budget based on the same criteria, so I can see exactly where my actual costs are. That will help me with my, what I want to bill this period. Here I can look at the commitments. So every PO and subcontract that's associated with this job. I can look at invoices that we billed the customer if I open up one of these invoices. So this was for an initial claim against this particular project. So here's the line items and the amounts that I billed for this particular progress draw. I can broaden that. I can also come up here and I can show you a copy. This is just a report for us, but this is a progress invoice, right? So it's got some header information, your logo, things along those lines. Here's the contract amount, complete to date, less previous. What are we billing this period? What's the holdback on that contract? and what are the taxes and what does the customer owe us. And then down below on our progress type contract, we have a substantiation of what it is that we're asking for in that $420,000. Additional questions, Tom, that I missed,
Yep,
or
yep, I see a couple questions here. So how do you know that you have either an approved subcontract or an approved change order?
how do you know? Well, there's statuses that you track on commitments and change requests. So if I'm in a particular change request, when I open up that, say if I have an open one here, I can tag a status to that. And then over here in my, what I can do within here, I have actions. And so I can put it on hold, I can create, I can approve it, I can remove it from hold. So there's things, I can escalate this potential change order, a change request to a change order. It'll take the costs that are associated here and apply the appropriate markups and profit and overhead and create a revenue component that then ends up on my progress draw. So we have statuses that we can tag. This is, for that potential change order. And so we know where we are. We also have statuses on these. So if I initiate a subcontract, I can then create a workflow that will route that through an approval process, and we can tag certain statuses on that PO or that subcontract. And we have actions when we're in that subcontract to put it on hold, to release it, to approve it, to move it through the approval process.
Are there formats for different types of invoices saved to that invoice?
Yeah,
Do
it's
you
a
have to
report
change
to
the
us.
format?
So when we're in our revenue and when we're looking at invoices, that invoice that I showed you is merely a report. So really, you tell us what your invoice needs to look like and we can reproduce that. Really at the end of the day, Acumatica is a database and we have very strong reporting tools so we can create and tailor those invoices to meet your requirements.
Great, thanks, Patrick. I think that's all the questions I see. I know we're a few minutes over here, so we'll probably wrap up here.
Yeah. Well, I'd like to thank everybody for your time. Hopefully we were able to give you a better understanding of who we are as the answer company, who Acumatica is. And maybe if I pop back here, I've a look and a feel for the software. So as the next steps, we're going to follow up. Typically, we work with customers to understand their business and we take you through we see it as a buying cycle and we want to facilitate that buying cycle. So typically the next steps are to complete a discovery with your company to understand what your unique challenges are, understand the systems that you're on today, get a feel for the vision of what you're hoping to achieve in a transition to a new system. Then with that information, we prepare for and deliver a tailored demonstration to meet your specific requirements. We'd shape out the investment so you're clear on what the costs associated with on this transition. And then we provide you with some references and really get started on the implementation. Typically from the time you say, yeah, we'd like to proceed to when you're going to be live is about 120 days or 4 months. So there's a certain pace, while you haven't changed in a while, we do about 45 or 50 of these implementations on the construction side of the business anyways, annually. So we're pretty good at that change and pretty good at, we're quite good at taking you through that transition and supporting you. So thanks very much for your time today. Really appreciate it. And we'll follow up to define the next steps to support you in your investigation.
And for those who have joined us today, we will also be sending out a Skip the Dishes gift card as a thank you for your time, and look forward to talking to everybody in the coming days. Appreciate it.
Thank you.
Thanks, Patrick. Thanks, everybody. Take care.